As a seasoned investor, what would be the advice you would give to a new investor? What do you think are the most common mistakes that they are likely to make, being a beginner? And what would be your advice to them?
Wow, that's a big one. Basically, I've always said, oh, investment is bespoke and all this stuff because there are so many things to investment. One, your risk appetite differs, your pocket differs, how long you want to leave your money differs, your resistance to fluctuations differs. Are you single? Are you married? No matter what you say, some will still use their school fees to invest, some will still use their house rent to invest. Take your time to learn, read stuff, read books. When I say read books, there are a lot of things you can Google and check, go to forums, read what people are saying before you start to put your money. But some think, oh, I must put my money, I must put my money. No, that's not the case. Forever and ever, there will always be opportunities. There will always be opportunities. The way it was in the 80s, the way it is now, the way it's good. As long as we are still in this world, there will always be opportunities. So you have to really take your time. But if you are so impatient that you cannot go through that particular process, then find somebody to guide you. Find somebody to hold your hand. You see, maybe
Yeah.
you get a coach and they coach you and possibly they give you support over time until you get stabilized and
Hello, welcome to the Nigerian Investors Podcast, the unofficial podcast that tracks and reports on the activities of the Nigerian boss. My name is Mudi, and with my colleague Aye, we will be hosting this podcast. TNI podcast is dedicated to stimulating a renewed enthusiasm among the general population with regard to the activities of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Ultimately, the goal of TNI is to see that many Nigerians from all walks of life, both at home and in the diasporas, become active participants on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Before we go further, we would like to place on record TNI podcast is solely for educational purposes and not a replacement for professional financial advice. Let's begin. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Nigerian Investors Podcast, your go-to podcast for investment insights in Nigeria, with a special focus on the stock market. And as always, we are your hosts, Aye and Mudi. In today's episode, we are honored to have a special guest joining us to share his wealth of knowledge and experience with you, our listeners. Our guest is a multifaceted professional. He is a project manager by profession. He is a passionate public speaker and a dedicated trainer, coach, and mentor committed to giving back to the community. Beyond his professional achievements, he is an enthusiastic retail investor with expertise in both stocks and real estate. He has delivered numerous presentations to diverse audiences in Nigeria and internationally, including a TEDx talk at the Imperial College, London. The accolades and achievements he has amassed are far too extensive to capture fully in this episode. It is our privilege to introduce none other than Idowu Anthony-Ajileye. You're welcome, sir, to this podcast.
wow, thank you very much. You've put me on the spot already.
Very interesting accomplishments, Amazad. I mean, it's
Yeah,
very impressive. It's nice to have you here to us today.
yeah. Thank you very, very much. I'm most honored to be here, please.
All right, I think we can get started with the questions. The audience can know a little bit about you. So can you please tell us about your background, where you grew up, and what your early career was like?
Thanks for the question. I was born in Lagos in March 1974. I did my early years education a place called Hilltop Nursery and Primary School. I'm not sure if that school still exists now. Then from there, I did my primary education somewhere called Obanikobo Primary School. I think I was the last set that finished, and that school has been merged now with Baptist Academy, something like that. Then from
Okay.
there, I proceeded to Federal Government College, Ubomosho, at the age of 11. That was my first shot of living on my own in a boarding house.
Oh,
Those days, FGCs FGCs. Those days, if you have been to any of the FGCs before, it was really and
yes.
I mentioned that specifically because it really formed a crucial part of my life and the journey so far. Then from there, I proceeded to Federal University of Technology Akure, which is FUTA, where I studied civil engineering. That's my first degree. Then after I finished at FUTA, I then went over to Jos, where I did my NYC. I was an estate officer with Industrial Training Fund headquarters. That's where the HQ of ITF is, for anyone that has done
Mm-hmm.
industrial training before. I finished my youth service from there. Then I returned to Lagos. I worked briefly with a construction firm for a few months, but I think the money wasn't taking me home. Then sometime in November 2000, November 2000, I joined Standard Trust Bank. Well, now UBA, as they call it now, it used to be STB in those days.
Oh,
And my
really?
intention then, what that I joined was, oh, enough of this engineering stuff. You guys are not giving me enough money, so I need to join the boys in the banks and get some more money. Yeah, but there
Yeah.
was a tradition then in STB that every single employee, before you're finally given an offer, you have to see the
Yeah.
CEO one on one.
Oh,
So when I met the CEO, he looked at my background. He just said, "You have to go to corporate services." Basically, corporate services is where the project department sits. So, cut long story short, I was deeply involved with branch expansion for the bank. There was a lot of expansion then. I was all over the country, different states, too numerous to list, but I did a lot of projects. I was not doing cooperations and all that. So then from STB, I moved to Echo Bank, also doing the same thing, project development, branches, and all the stuff as an in-house staff of the bank. Then from Echo Bank, I moved again to Bond Bank. I
oh,
know Bond Bank has transformed now, maybe to Sky, to so many names. I don't even know where they sit now. So, sometime around September 2004, I decided I've had enough of of the country, and I moved over to the United Kingdom in 2004 around September.
oh,
For so many reasons, new developments. There were a lot of things coming up again, talking about the consolidation of the banks, this and that. We've seen one before. I just said no,
yeah.
no, no. I just have to get out. So I moved over to the UK in 2004. Did my master's in business and done several other certifications after the master's program. And yeah, I am. I've been around there for over 20 years now. Though I'm based here technically, but I move around globally and often. So I think that's a bit about me. And I'm still in projects up to now. Despite my civil background, I'm still doing projects. I do training, I do coaching, I do consulting, I do all sorts. So I've always been in projects all my life. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, that's
That was very
interesting.
interesting. Yeah, that was very
Yeah.
interesting. I wanted to even ask what prompted your main interest into investing, and I think you already mentioned that. So it's always the financial aspect, the money aspect. Right? Is
No,
it
it's
was
not
it the
just
money
it's not
aspect?
just about that. It's not just about that, really, to be honest, because I think in terms of what prompted my interest into investing, sometime I think I should be shortly before I joined the bank. Then I read a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I read that book. It really touched me in so many ways and all that. But I just said to myself, a lot of things here, but I'm not going to start to put it to action yet because, as usual, you want to settle down stuff, try and sort out the first things, get your own place, and all the stuff like that. So my interest started from reading that book, but I did not start to put into practice immediately. Just to answer your question.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting.
All right, interesting.
Um, and so, just a quick one. Your interest started from reading a book that piqued your interest in the stock market. And so, just to go back to that time specifically, what was the market like at that time when you started trading or investing in the Nigerian stock market?
Thanks for that, Shelter. I think how would I put it? I read that book I think early 2000 or something, and as I said, I moved to the UK in 2004. But I was more focused on initially settling down. I was already married when I came over to the UK. I got married in 2002, so I didn't come over as a single person.
I see.
So,
So okay.
and I wanted to have my rest of mind in terms of you can't be talking about investing where you have not sorted the home and all the stuff. So I was more
Yeah.
focused. I was more focused on
I agree
settling
with you.
down and all that. And but I think God has been very good. I came in 2004. By 2007, I already bought a property, which I still live in till
Oh,
today. So,
oh, that's
and
interesting.
once the property was out of the way, family was better positioned. Okay, I see now that I can now start to talk about how do I now start to put money to work and all that. Don't forget, it's not just about the stocks that I learned. Stocks and real estate were two things I picked out from that book. And when it was time to start investing, oh, I said to myself, there are so many things I know around, but I did my own personal analysis. I said, well, I'm going to stick to these two investment vehicles. Those are my
Yeah.
babies, and I will stick to those strategies. And it has been like that since 2007. So that was how it all started. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Interesting.
good. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, would you say your experience, where did it start? Did you start with real estate market and then you went into the stock market? How was that?
I did both simultaneously. I did both
Oh,
simultaneously. I was
Okay.
putting some money in real estate. I was putting some money in stocks. You guys know 2007, not a lot of things were well straightened up with the way
yeah.
stock market was.
The
And
market
then there
crash.
was
Yeah.
also a lot of things on real estate, but I don't want to focus on real estate. There are a lot of chances to buy lands, cheap lands in the suburbs and all this stuff. But talking about the real estate, as at that time, I'm talking about the stocks rather. As at that time, we know we call it NSC then. Um,
Yes.
he had stockbrokers and all the stuff like that. And one of the key things is that things have evolved, but we'll talk about that much later. But then you
Yeah.
just have to get a stockbroker. Then the next thing, maybe you send an email, what you want to buy in the morning, and hopefully you are checking at the end of the day if it was executed or not. You see, that was a very a very poor model compared to what we have now. So
It
that was how I
was. It
Okay.
started
was.
putting money here, putting money there in two different investment vehicles simultaneously.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Just to follow up with that question, your response, some of your challenges, because what you just said now, your last sentence is like the back then the stock market was not the way it is now, whereby you can easily monitor your investment from anywhere in the world. What are some of those challenges that you faced that time, apart from the stock market not being very well organized as it is today? I mean, in terms of you're investing in real estate at the same time you're investing in the stock market. What were some of those challenges? It could be maybe finance, or it could be maybe bottlenecks when it comes to the process of buying real estate and buying stocks. What are some of the challenges you faced back then?
Yeah, the key one is about the system. As I said initially, then we don't have all this advent of fintechs, you see. And you and I know now that the way the stock market works, even 20 seconds, 1 minute is a lot. You
Yeah.
are able to
It
track the
is.
offers, able to track the bids and all this stuff. But those days, the challenge is you are just at the mercy of the stockbrokers. You decide in the morning by email, you send the email and you're waiting and crossing fingers and all that. And we are far, far from that now. You see, even some stocks now can start a day at minus 10% and finish the day at plus 10%. That's a massive swing. You see, so
Yeah.
being able to assess these things directly yourself and make your decisions and all that. And one of the things again, which I see as a challenge compared to then, is that the way things are at the moment, you will decide that this price is good for me, is not good for me. Then the thought process was that, oh, whatever is the share price is what you buy it at. But I've now learned over time with advent of tech that even the share price can be 10 and some people are willing to sell it for 950. But if you don't have
Yeah.
access to live data, you can't see that. You see, the same way also, it could be 10 and some will say, I'm going to sell it at 11. As long as it's within the 10% plus or minus movement and all that. If you know you've done your homework, you are clear what you are after, you say to yourself, I'm happy to pay premium for this particular stock because I see a future in it. And that's just the major difference, really. Fintech has really changed the space. And I think there's been a lot of improvement in how markets are monitored now, because now once the time to give your quarterly results is due, I think after a month, if you don't get a concession, you get slammed with suspension straight away. You know what I'm saying? So things have
Yes.
changed. You see, things have changed compared to those days when people did whatever they wanted. So now there's quite a lot of monitoring and good level of. I'm not saying it's perfect, but there's a substantial good level of compliance compared to what we had in those days.
Okay.
We hope to even see better improvements. What you just said is something that resonates with both myself and I think a lot of investors will agree that the way it used to be before, when you just send your orders in and you have to wait extended periods of time, was just not advantageous, especially when you see a price of a stock you really like at that price. And then before your brokers are buying the stock, it's just gone up and it's just annoying. So I think
Yeah.
this is a very good point. It's a very solid point, and we just hope to see the market keep improving and keep pushing forward. Hopefully, we start seeing stocks so liquid that we can even see 50% gain in a day, plus minus. I mean, that would be a big
Yeah,
one. That would be a very
I
big
think
one.
you're asking too much.
Wow.
That's too much. Don't
50%,
even ask
that
for
is
more.
massive. That is massive. Plus
Yeah,
minus 50 is
that's
massive.
massive.
It,
So
it,
I
it
think
could also go the opposite direction. I mean, you could also lose 50%.
yeah. It's all
Yeah.
depends
So,
on the individuals. I
anyway,
think plus or minus 10 should be about right, yeah.
Okay.
so basically, investing mistakes will always be made. I mean, often we often see this as an opportunity to learn, but we'd just like to hear from you. What mistakes did you make during your early foray into investing? Did you make any mistakes, and what were there? What were the lessons that you learned from them?
For me, I've always been somebody that has that concept that don't invest in what you don't understand. It's been my motto all along. I don't put my two legs in deep waters at the same time. I've always been a cautious person, and I'm not in a rush in anything I want to do. I take my time. I wouldn't say I made any big mistakes then, basically because I understood the concept that even if you are making any form of investment, it can go in either direction. So I had to go at my pace. I had to go with what I could cope with. I never saw stocks as gambling or whatever the case might be. I saw myself buying into a particular company, watching that company grow, and depending on what my intentions are. So, but though in the early days, I was more fixated in terms of more about the growth than the dividend. That was more of my intention. But as time went on, I was able to balance both and then being able to understand why I'm picking this, why I'm picking that, and all this stuff. So this experience grew with time, but I didn't make any grave mistakes in the early days. I made some mistakes along the line, but not specifically in the early days. And when I say mistakes, basically is that I won't call it mistakes in total. It's just maybe letting go some stocks too early, letting some
Mm,
stocks, letting them go too early. Maybe that's what I can
Yeah.
call. But I wouldn't say that came about because I was new. No, not that wasn't the case. Just basically because I just believe a bird in hand at times is better than thousands in the bush. Sometimes, and
Yes.
because I had my other art in real estate. So if I feel I've gotten a bit of some returns on this one, and another opportunity is begging elsewhere, then I can move the money there. So, but at times I've moved the money there. They've done well in the new investment, but what I've seen is that how this has multiplied is something else. Maybe I should have stayed put a
Added
bit
more.
longer.
Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe I moved to real estate and maybe it's gone 2 or 3 times the value, and the stock like Narco goes like almost times 20 from what I had it before.
Yes.
You see? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
This is
I sold Naco for less than 2 naira 50, whatever. It's over 40 now, even in a span
Yes.
of 4 years or something. So those are what I can call mistakes, but at the same time, I didn't sell off to go and buy chin chin or something. I used it, but the mistake I would say is basically that what I put it into has not multiplied as fast as,
Yes.
but
mm,
it's not always the case.
yeah.
It's a catch 22
Mm.
situation. There are times when you leave and you'll be happy you left, but at times again, you say, why did I leave and all that? So that's a mistake I can put
Mm.
across to you.
I think
Okay.
this is something that a lot of investors resonate with. I mean, selling a stock too early, sometimes you invest it somewhere, as like you said, it goes up. It doesn't go up as much as you would have made if you had just held on to it. But then you just look at it and you're like, "Oh, I should just held on." Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, this narco you mentioned, very painful, very
I know
painful.
because the way I responded, I knew there's something behind that response. Like,
It's a very painful one. It's a very personal one, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
uh,
thanks a lot for that.
yes, yeah. Just as a leading question to your response, you said the things you will refer to as mistakes are probably you exited too early or probably you linger too long when you're supposed to exit. So I want to ask a question. How do you approach selecting a stock? And what are the key metrics that you look for? Because we know most investors that really know what they are doing, they look at the fundamentals before they engage in the stock to buy stock or to sell. What is your approach to selecting a stock and what are the key metrics that you look at for when you want to select a stock?
That's a very pregnant question.
Yeah.
I can't fully exhaust it, but I'll give just some tips. Yeah, not everything. Give some tips and all that. For me,
Okay.
as a certified risk professional, the first thing I say to myself that even if I'm not going to make money, I don't want to lose money. I want to
Okay.
minimize as much as possible. So my very first approach in terms of selecting stocks, I'm going to come to why am I selecting? As you guys know, you are not new in this business. You only make two ways. You only make money two ways from the stock market. You make money from
Mm-hmm.
price movement or dividends. But before I get to
Mm-hmm.
that, I want to establish my safe position. So I will say to myself, every business ideally should be a going concern. But
Okay.
if for any reason a business ceases to exist, what is my fallback position? What do I get? And as far as I'm concerned, one key metric that I first of all check for me, as I said, everybody must have a way of doing that. I check equity of an organization. And what is an equity of an organization? You net off the liabilities from the asset. You now check the outstanding number of outstanding shares. You divide it simply, it gives you the book value of the stock. So what it means is that if a company ceases to exist today, if that company has preferential shareholders and they've paid them off, the next will be ordinary shareholders, and that's what comes to your hand. As simple as that. So if they've got enough equity based on their outstanding shares, you're going to get some of your money back if the company ceases to exist. But another thing about that again is that you also have to keep an eye on the debt profile of the company because
Yeah.
the equity might be good. You have to check their debt profile again. So all those things I look at and okay, I say, well, at least I've crossed the first bridge of saying, well, if the worst happens, my money is not totally gone. So that is the first thing. Then the next thing will now be that is this going to be a growth stock for me or is it going to be a dividend stock for me? For those that are not
Okay.
familiar, it's just growth is basically saying capital appreciation, it moves up. Dividend is what the company pays and all the stuff like that. So I can't give all the metrics, but I'll take one in turns. Let's look at the dividend side of things. If my focus is dividend on a particular stock, I want to check the dividend history of the organization. What is their dividend history over the last couple of years? That is one. And the other thing I'm going to check is that the earnings per share, because ideally a company will pay dividends from their earnings per share. But again, that one has a caveat because if you look at it critically, some companies have very good earnings per share, but they are paying out a low percentage of those earnings, a low
Oh,
percentage, and some are paying close to what they earn. So you have to also look at that also in making a
Yeah.
decision if you are thinking about a dividend stock. In terms of a growth stock, I look at so many things with a growth stock. What sector it sits in? How does it fare with those in the similar sector? What is the probability that this particular stock will move? What is the current book value of this stock compared to its peers in similar category? So if somebody should say to me now today that, oh, Idowu, you want to buy one of the Ugas, I don't need to think twice to know the Ugas to buy. I know the Ugas has got a better chance to
Of
okay.
move
growth.
compared to others. You see, that's just an example. Again, it comes with experience and all that. It comes with what their book says and all the stuff like that. So that's what guides me. Is it a dividend stock? Is it a growth stock? After I have satisfied the condition of if anything happens to this company, I don't lose my money. And it's as simple as that. So there are so many metrics. And as I always say to people, conventional metrics cuts across globally. But when you talk about the NGX, as I always say, is a unique animal. Going beyond all those metrics, you have to know some peculiarities about NGX.
Yeah.
It's not London Stock Exchange. It's not New York Stock Exchange. There are
Yeah.
conventional metrics. I'm not doubting that, but there's much more you need to
Yeah.
know and all that. And in conclusion, I live in the UK, but I can tell you, I don't even do LSE. I don't do
Oh,
NYSE. I only do
wow.
NGX. Yeah, because I'm a man of niche. I love the niche market and I like to be a specialist. So, hope that answers your question.
Mm.
Yes, it
That
does. It
answers a
does.
lot. That answers a
Thank you
lot.
so much.
I think my personal little things I like to take from what you said, and this is something that even for me it means a lot, right? So yeah, the NGX is a very unique animal. I know my own investing history. I made that mistake of thinking, oh, I read all these foreign books that say, oh, if you want to value a stock, you should look at this, look at that, and then you come up with the idea that okay, this PE ratio is the standard. Let me use this PE ratio. But then this is the NGX. That PE ratio you're looking at is not going to work here. It's better you just bring things down to a decent level. I mean, by early foreign into the markets, I know how to optimize the portfolio just to squeeze out good performance. So it's something that resonates very, very well with me. Yeah, thanks a lot for that. So
Yeah.
how do
So,
you okay, when you want
no,
to
go
think you
ahead.
want to think so.
No, 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 go
So
ahead.
how do you decide when to exit an investment? Are there specific red flags you look out for that tells you, okay, let me sell this investment, or are there milestones that you're chasing that you say, oh, I've hit this milestone, so it's time for me to exit? So what are the things you look out for to decide when to exit?
So many things again. Very pregnant question. So in terms of exiting, I would have known at the onset if it's a stock I'm buying to take advantage of movement and get out of it. But as we all know that things change every single day. By the time you start to see flags that maybe a company is running into difficulty, or maybe they have a bad management, or maybe whatever they are providing is not in vogue any longer. There are so many things to look at. Or maybe they start to talk about capitalization. You feel that they might not have a chance of capitalizing and so on and so. There's so many things to look at, you see. And at times, one of the key things is that when you start to see that something is becoming too valued, it's overvalued. Ah, man, this. Although some people will ride it, they will ride it. But for me, when I say I think this is really far, far more than the value of this particular stock, then I will just pull out. I'll pull out again, not to use the money for chin chin or abula or whatever. I will pull out and find something else that I think is still at the beginning of movement and all this stuff. Because at times I don't want to mention there are some stocks that you just say to yourself, how can this be at this price? And for people that don't have the experience, they jump in the hype, then they get to the top, they can't sell it. You see, they can't sell it. You see, I don't want to talk about other stuff that goes on in the
Mm,
market and all that. So
Yeah,
we all
no,
know
you talk
we all know
about it
what
as
I'm
free
exactly.
bullets.
Exactly. So I don't get soaked in that hype. I say to myself, I don't see what supports the price this stock is at the moment. So it's better I just take stuff. If I don't sell off, I'll just take off maybe like 50% or 70%, or I do it gradually and all that. But a lot of factors is if it's overvalued, I want to take my money as much as possible. If I feel there are some bad news about the organization, if I feel there's no future with that particular sector, if I feel there's regulation, if I feel government policies, there are so many things. There are so many things. There are some people that would. There are some companies now that if a particular person wins an election, that company is in trouble. So there are a lot of things you have to look at. You see, so that's why I say that's why
Yeah.
I say to people, you cannot. I live in the UK. I can tell you for a fact there's no single day I spend less than 2 3 hours on Nigerian information. There's no day. There's no day. At least 3 hours. Because you have to know
Wow.
what goes on in the system. You have to understand what goes on
Yes.
in the system. You can't be saying, "Oh, can you imagine my dad had a share in 1980. Then I went to check my certificate in 2024. How can you talk about 1980?
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. I've seen people
Yeah.
say a lot of stuff. So you have to really be following what is going on. A news last night can trigger the opening price of a stock the following morning. So there's a lot you
mm,
have to keep an eye on and all that. So there's a lot. Management, events, politics, all those things determine how long I stay in a stock and all that. And even if a stock is battered, I may not leave if I know that the fundamentals are still there. It's just temporary events, like COVID, for example. Some
Mm-hmm.
stocks became peanuts, you see,
Yeah.
but I know
because
it
of
was a
COVID.
temporary thing and all that. So that's what it is really. I look at a lot of things, but that comes with experience again. It comes with experience and all that. So, And at times, some of these things just keep moving and moving. You just say to yourself, they don't have the fundamentals, they don't have the books. Maybe some people have got some feelers that some new investors are coming or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you might want to stay
Rumors.
put and not leave. When you want to stay put. So a lot of things
Yeah.
come into play. A lot of things come into play. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Thank you
think
for that.
it
The
is
next question we want to
yes.
ask is, you know, the Nigerian stock market has had its own share of past histories when it comes to investment. Because most people that got involved in the past, they really didn't know what they were doing. They didn't take their time. Because you just told us now that before you started investing in the stock market, you took time to study and you waited for a time that you really understood what it entails when you are investing at, because you have that principle of not losing your money, the money you want to invest. If at the end of the day, the worst that could happen is you're able to get your capital back and not to lose your capital. You took your time to learn the rudimentary aspect of the stock market before you decide to engage. But today we have so many new investors, and oftentimes I see that most of them are always in a hurry to get started. As a seasoned investor, what would be the advice you would give to a new investor? What do you think are the most common mistakes that they are likely to make being a beginner? And what would be your advice to them?
Wow, that's a big one. Basically, because the few places where I engage with people in terms of investment firms and all that, I see a lot of them don't even know anything, and all they will say to you, "Which stock can I buy?" You can't be saying that. And you see, I've always said, "Oh, investment is bespoke and all this stuff," because there are so many things to investment. One, your risk appetite differs, your pocket differs, how long you want to leave your money differs, your resistance to fluctuations differs. Are you single? Are you married? No matter what you say, some will still use their school fees to invest, some will still use their house rent to invest. There's still a lot of things. Yeah, no matter, so
Yeah,
you know the way human beings are. No matter the caution, no matter the guide you give them,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like what they say in my local tribe that a dog that's going to get lost will never hear the whistle of the hunter. So no matter what you say,
Okay.
some will still they will still do all those stuff. So I think that's a big mistake for a lot of them. I wouldn't say I know all newbies, but the ones I see their comments on the groups that I engage with, I still see that they are not willing to learn. You see, and as I always say to people that you don't have to start to invest as soon as you know about NGX. You don't have to start to invest. You can take your time to learn, read stuff, read books. When I say read books, there are a lot of things you can Google and check, go to forums, read what people are saying before you start to put your money. But some think, oh, I must put my money, I must put my money. No, that's not the case. Forever and ever, there will always be opportunities. There will always be opportunities. The way it was in the 80s, the way it is now, the way it's good. As long as we are still in this world, there will always be opportunities. So you have to really take your time. But the only thing you can do, which I say to people, is that if you are so impatient that you cannot go through that particular process, then find somebody to guide you. Find somebody to hold your hand. You see, maybe
Yeah.
you get a coach and they coach you and possibly they give you support over time until you get stabilized and all that. But again, I understand we like freebies in Nigeria, very good. So I say to people that if you are investing something significant, you cannot depend on freebies to do that. You can't. You can't. I've not seen any billionaire saying, I'll just read a forum and I invest my money. It's not possible. So if you want to bridge that gap of, okay, I don't want to go through the learning curve myself, then you can leverage on somebody's experience and get these things around and all that. But one important thing is this: people should not make mistake. Newbies now, don't make mistakes of where they put 50 people in a classroom and they say they are teaching you stock market. They can teach you PE ratios, they can teach you EPS, they can teach you equity, teach you intrinsic value, whatever, whatever. But when it comes to investment, it's bespoke, it's personal. It's personal. How much can you resist? If you see your portfolio go down by 3 million, are you going to have high blood pressure or not? So it's personal. Somebody would have money dropping, they are cool as cucumber, but somebody have money dropping, the wife is knocking their head. This man, are you sure this thing that you
Yeah.
are doing
Okay.
is going to you know what I'm trying to say? So it's
Yeah.
individual. It's individual, but you will never get that level of support except you have that one-to-one guidance, one-to-one coaching and all that. So again, that's a big mistake. I think a lot of people want to jump and start and just tell me just tell me. They don't tell you their story. You don't know their financial circumstances. They just say, oh, that person said this stock is good. That person said that stock is good. Even they say it's good, by the time the person exits, you don't know. Somebody
Yeah.
might buy a stock
Yes,
and say to
yes, a
themselves, I'm
very
getting
big
out at
one.
20%, 25%. And some people, they never sell any stock. Since 1970, they don't sell anything. You know what I'm saying? So you have to really understand it's not a general thing. So that's a big mistake with a lot of newbies. They think they can cut corners and you can't. You can't cut corners. Same thing with real estate. You can't just buy just anything. Because while some people are crying, some people are laughing in other investment vehicles. I don't do crypto, but some people are crying on crypto, some people are smiling on crypto. It's something what I'm trying to say. So you just have
Yeah.
to really, it's a personal thing. But until newbies get it, they have to get that it's personal. Once they get that it's personal, then you'll be fine. Because if I'm dealing with somebody one on one, I'm going to ask some typical questions that I cannot ask generally. And based on the answer
Yes.
the person gives me, I will say to them, you want to invest this amount of money. I will say, for example, how long do you want to leave the money in as a minimum? Yeah, what are you looking for? If somebody says, I want to leave my money in, for example, I want to leave my money in for maybe 1 year, and the person says to me, 10% is good for me, what are you doing in the stock market? Just go straight away and go and do fixed. What are you doing in the
Yeah.
stock market? Because fixed instrument now can give you close to 20 or more. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So all these are sort of things you have to consider. So there's a lot of things for newbies to learn. You have to decide, should I even be here in the first place? Or should I even be in other markets and all this stuff like that? I'm in the stock market basically because of it's very liquid. You see, as much as I do different investment classes, specifically real estate and stocks, the beauty of stocks is if you have the good stocks in your portfolio that are very liquid, you can sell quickly in seconds. Though you cannot get your money in seconds. If you sell on Monday, by Thursday, it becomes cash and you can
Yeah.
deploy it elsewhere. However, if your money is in fixed instrument, it's locked. It's locked. So you can get your upfront profit or interest or whatever the case might be, but until the tenure ends, you cannot use that money. So, and I think I've given this example before. If I need to take quick money because of an opportunity elsewhere, within a week I can turn it around, get my cash, and buy that thing. And these investments are time bound. So these are sort of the typical things newbies will have to understand. You have to understand all those things. Why do I have to put my money? What am I looking for? What's my financial circumstance? What's my risk appetite? This and that. Or they say, for example, a company is about to get new investors or whatever, or the company is about to give a bonus. We must fly left and right. You see, at times the rumors becomes reality. At times they don't become reality. So you need somebody to actually guide you if you don't want to make those grave mistakes. So that's what I've seen with newbies. I keep saying it's bespoke. You cannot generalize. You cannot. If you are really serious and you don't want to spend time to learn yourself, then get somebody to hold your hands. And that's what I would advise.
Completely agree. Completely agree. I think for most of our listeners, for especially those who are newbies, right? Um, this is very, 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 very important. I mean, everything I said is very, very important. I remember there's this quote that I think a mentor of mine used to always say that it's only a fool that learns from experience because you have people who have experience out there. So you can always reach out to them, you can always get the experience from them. But then again, caveat, experience is still going to be the best teacher because, like you said, it's bespoke. Interestingly enough, if you're getting freebies, this is something that I think I've observed elsewhere too, not in investing elsewhere. If you're getting freebies, you're not getting the experience. So how do you manage yourself, especially in those very, very particular circumstances? Like you've mentioned bonus stock, right? And sometimes these things don't materialize, sometimes they materialize. Imagine this. You're buying a stock, there is a rumor going on that this something is going to happen. The stock will likely go up. But then even if it doesn't go up, what's the worst case scenario? For some newbies, they don't know what that means. They don't understand worst case scenario. I'm not going to lose my money. That's experience. That's experience that will keep you calm. Even in the worst case, you are calm, right? So it's something that a lot of newbies investors have to understand that look, freebies are good and all, but experience still will always be the best teacher. And yes, it makes sense to get experience from people who already have that experience. Because someone like you will say, oh, have you considered this? You're about to buy this stock, but have you considered this? Have you looked at this from this perspective? And that alone will just save you from a lot of stress, a lot of regret, a lot of, oh, I wish I had waited before I bought this stock, or I wish I had bought this stock and I just so yeah, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And this talk of investing is bespoke. It's something that I've said before. I struggle with a lot, especially at the starting. I struggle with a lot, right? But it is. It's very, very bespoke. It's so bespoke that even with investors with similar stocks in their portfolio, you'll be surprised that their percentage allocation is so different. So their return on investment is completely different, right? So it's very, very bespoke. It's so bespoke that it's very important that people get that patience first, that calmness first, that question in your mind first. So even when you're asking the experienced people, they know how to direct you, right? So yes, very, 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 very spot on. Very, very spot on. So thanks a lot for that.
Exactly, exactly. And just to add, if I want me to give live examples of what is going on now, you will recall that when UCAP did their bonus half year, there was a rumor
Yes.
around half report bonus then.
Yes.
Yes,
Something
yes.
that
Yes. Yes.
it didn't materialize. It didn't
Yes.
materialize. Then people they decided to run out again. Now you can
Yeah.
see
Yeah,
the rumor mill is up again. You can see where
Yeah.
half
yeah.
report is. And even the price of half report now is higher than access. Can you believe that? Half report is higher than access.
It's
So,
crazy. It's
so
crazy
it is
where
because
African
it is
financial is right
yeah,
now.
it's because of what people. So you have to really balance these things. So that's just one example. Take another one. When they release a corporate disclosure and they said, "Oh, we're going to have a meeting and we're going to discuss a bonus." Nobody ever expected two for everyone. You see, I was saying maybe
Yeah.
they will
That was
say
by
four for one,
surprise.
one for one, or stuff like that. You can see what happened thereafter. A lot of us thought some things would go on after they had the Asani shares. So many things changed. Look at Tantalizer now. It was rumored that there's going to be a takeover. Some ignored it, some jumped on it. But again, you need guidance to plan for worst case scenario. That if it doesn't happen, this and that. Okay. Another one, look at
Yes.
Omatech now. Go and check which books has Omatech got. But there are some things
No
going on.
books.
There are
I,
some
I I specifically went to their books, look at it, and I was like, well, there's nothing here in this business. No cash flow,
exactly.
nothing. Like there's nothing here. So why is it moving? I was just
Exactly.
asking myself.
Exactly. But I dug further. Another friend that is also very experienced. He now sent me something about Omate. So that gave me, that's why I saw my
Mm.
interest in and all that. So, but what I'm saying is that not everybody has access to that. You see, not
Yeah.
everybody has access to
Exactly.
that. Exactly.
Exactly.
So, yeah, when I saw it, the guy, he sent me something. Wow. I said, yeah, okay. I understand now. And because of that, I took some steps, but I'll keep that to myself. So what I'm trying to say is that all
Yeah.
these things, all these things also matter. You wouldn't see it in most places and all this stuff. So that's just the way
Yes.
I see it generally. You need that leveraging of experience if you are not willing to take your time to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we completely agree. Young investors have to learn to build those relationships as well. I mean, you some information you are getting from people who are even in these industries, right? It's definitely something a lot of investors have to look at. When you're doing your homework on the stock, there's a lot of information out there. There are some information that are niche and they're in the hands of very, very experienced people. You also have to reach out to those people to get the information. So yeah, completely agree with. So Moody, you were about to ask a question.
I just wanted I'll move on to the next question,
All right.
which is something that in the past, I think someone made a statement that if you want to hide anything from a black person, put it in a book.
Excuse me.
Because they
So
will never
sorry.
open the book. I don't know how true that is, but our next question is what are your recommendations when it comes to books and other resources that new investors can use to better develop themselves in order for them to be able to understand the market and know what they are investing in? Because I know most great people that are experienced in the stock market, they are great readers. Most great people that really do well, excel in stock market and all walks of life, they are great readers because you learn more from books and all that. So what would be the your book recommendations for people that are starting in the stock market?
I think for books, it's just generally for self development. To be honest with you, it's for self. There's so many books out there, not just about stocks, either for your efficiency, for real estate, for so many things. So, there are so many books out there, but I wouldn't say to you there's any specific book on NGX. I don't think there's any. Even if there's
No.
one, I don't think I'm going to read anyone at all. Basically, because so what I'm saying that, and this is why I'm saying that is because, as I've said earlier, is a unique animal. You can read books that will tell you how stock market works, what the metrics are, the fundamental. There are so many books that Millionaire Investor, general books about investment, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Babylonian Million. There are so many things, but they will not teach you NGX in particular. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But those things are good to build your mind, to build your perspective, to open up your brain. So there are so many. What I've got a lot of them. I don't know what is cheaper depending on what part of the world you are. But what I typically do, I join Audible. Then Audible, depending on, you can get it at discount if you know when to join. Then you can get books very, very cheap and all that. So, but it helps you, builds you generally on so many things. And I've got a couple 4-day week. There's so many. There are just too many to mention, but they will not give you specific NGS experience. No. But they will give you what typical stocks are, what metrics to check, what fundamentals to check, and all that. But you guys know that some of these metrics, at times you say to yourself, well, what is driving this market? You
Yeah.
see, because you see those things don't apply. You see some terrible P ratios and they are jumping. You see some zero revenue. Some people are buying it. There are so many things. Books will not tell you that. Okay, take for example now, because we are talking NGX and all that. Ella Lakes, they don't have any revenue, but their balance sheet is good. For those of us that are positioning on Ella Lakes, what are we trying to do? We're saying by the time they start, it's going to start to chase Presco and Okomu,
Yeah.
and it's going to
Yeah.
be too late. You see, those is because you know what I'm trying to say. But somebody that has studied all the stocks books, there's nothing in this company. Why would I put anything on there? But by
Okay. Yeah.
understanding the environment, understanding, anticipating what can happen, then you can jump in and all that. So to answer your question, basically, the books will help you with self-development, but they will not teach you NGS specifics. They will not teach you. There are so many motivational books, or even there are a lot of stuff on YouTube and all that stuff. So I wouldn't say anyone. I think just one foundational book with investment is Rich Dad Poor Dad. Is very good. It teaches you on
Okay.
stocks, teaches you on real estate, and there are so many others. Depending on what you're after. If you are someone that is, some of us are self-motivated, some are not motivated. They need to be motivated and all that. If you feel what you lack is determination, or you give up easily, just have to pick up a book that aligns with what your weakness is. Some of us are naturally, we are tigers. You see, someone like me now, I don't need anybody to to motivate me and all that, because I'm naturally motivated. But I like to read and learn new things, learn new strategies and all this stuff. But it's not specific NGX, no. But self-development books, there are so many of them. Millionaire Investor, Rich Dad Poor Dad, 4-day week, Go for No. There are so many. There are just too many of them. Too many of them. So you have to decide what gap have I got as an individual, and what exactly am I trying to build, and that will determine the book you go for. Yeah.
Very, very,
Okay.
very, very important, very interesting. Yeah, very important advice to non-investors because there's no end to how many books you're going to read. Books, it's endless. There's so many resources out there, but like you said, just having that question in your head of what do I want to learn right now is just a good step to just know what book to pick up. And I think for a lot of young investors out there, this is a very good advice for you. It's always scary when you see people sharing books online and say, no, read this book, read that book. I mean, by the time you download them all, it's like 51,000 books. I think I have 1,000 books. I've not even read up to 2%. But once you start asking the question of what do I want to learn right now, what is the thing that I need to learn to drive me, you will find a book, you will get that motivation, that inspiration. So yeah,
Yeah.
completely agree with you. So over to you,
Okay.
Moody.
All right. Do you have any mentors, any thought leaders or framework that have guided your success?
Um, to be honest with you, I NGX specifically, I don't have any mentor NGX. Yeah, I've learned the ropes myself. I don't Nobody mentors me on the NGX. I don't listen to any broker. Apologies, majority of them, they are good at what they are there to do, and not at investment really. To be honest with you, that's my
Yeah.
personal experience. I may be wrong. So, and if you doubt me, pick 3 or 4 or 5 different brokers that you think are top-notch brokers in Nigeria, then go and check their recommendations. They don't tally. They don't
Yeah.
tally. That one is talking about B, that one is talking about A and all that. Some will say sell, some will say hold, some will say
Good.
this, some will tell
Bye.
you 50% upturn, some will tell you minus 20% downturn, some will tell you 90% upturn and all that. So what is the basis for all this stuff, you see? So basically, I just believe that my own concept of this NGX is that you have to learn yourself, master your own strategy. Because the beauty of this, as against what people say about Nigeria, is when I give somebody money to help me build a house, they will take picture when I go there, I don't find anything and all that. So this is the only investment vehicle in Nigeria that I believe is very, very secure. Secured in the sense that you have your CSCS account that is independent of the brokers. So if anything happens to your stocks, you can see it from there. And secondly, you don't need any family, any staff, any send whatever. Once you have your phone and you have your data, simple. Your CSCS account, your broker account, your bank account. Once you have those three things, either you are in Miami or you are in India, you are anywhere. As long as you know what the time zones are, you know when markets start trading at 10, finish at 2:30, you can do stuff yourself. So, and what I say to a couple of people that are close to me, even when you're 80 years old, when you're 85 years old, you can do it. As long as you can read, you can do it. It's as simple as that. So basically for me, I wouldn't say any mentor specifically. I don't really think I have any in terms of NGX, not really. But in terms of maybe generally learning from people, there's one person, is not living now, he's dead. I never met him. But if there's somebody that I really love, the sort of work he did while he was alive, is going to be Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn, yeah, that is one person for me. Never met him, but the things I have learned from Jim Rohn is worth more than $1 billion. What I've learned. So that's just one tip I can give. And a lot of his work is free on YouTube. You can listen, and it's just about all around building, not giving up, persistence. And that's the weakness of many people. We give up easily. We give up easily. Little challenges, we give up and all this stuff. So, to your question, mentor wise, I don't have anybody mentoring me on NGX. No, I've learned the ropes over time, and now I'm coaching people. I've got my personal clients and all this stuff like that. So, but you have to be sure, So you have to be sure who you're talking to about the NGX. So that's the way I see it. But in terms of general mentorship, I think I follow Jim Rohn. He's dead now. For those that don't know him, he's not alive, but a lot of his works
Oh,
are online. But
okay.
not stocks, not stocks. It's just general
General,
development,
yeah. Okay.
persistence, marketing. You know what I'm trying to say? Once you have those typical ethos in you, you can achieve anything. For me, everything is possible. Everything is possible. You see,
Just
it,
think
it
about
always
it.
looks
Yeah.
impossible until it is done. That's
Nothing
what
is
I'm trying
done.
to say.
Yeah.
So everything
That's
is
true.
possible. Have an open mind, and nothing comes easy. So because this is what people need to hear, and nothing comes easy. Nothing is a lot of hard work. It's not everybody that is born with billions. I love reading biographies. I love reading about. There are people that started with nothing, and you can see their trajectory. It's not easy. People think they're going to cross their legs and they want to be successful. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And again, because of our culture, some people think I'm going to pray for money tonight. That's how it's not enough. God is very important. I'm a devout Christian, but the point I'm making is that there's a place for faith and there's a place for what? You have to combine it.
Yeah.
What
Yeah. The
Yeah,
Bible
what
said
God
that in
has
the book of
empowered you
James.
to do, He will not do it for you. He will not do it for you. So if you
Yeah.
say you are hungry, somebody puts a plate of food in front of you. If you don't touch that plate of food, it stays there forever. It's as simple as that. So we have a part to play. We have a part to play in all these games. So you don't. I see some people early in the morning. Yeah, they will do prayer, afternoon prayer, evening prayer. Prayer is good. It's good to pray. But what I'm trying to say is that we have a part to play in our journey and all that. So even if a mentor tells you something, you still have some things to do yourself. You have some steps to take, and that's very
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. One thing I will pick from what you just said now, you follow Jim Rohn, but not because of NGS. You follow him because generally he's someone that you think has really shaped the way you see things, whether NGS or your daily life and all that. I think most people, especially newbies, if they follow someone that they see as a mentor and they are willing to be patient, because from all what you've been saying, I've been able to pick some things from what you've been saying. One, you have to be very patient. Another thing, you have to know your risk appetite. You have to know what works for Mr. A doesn't work for Mr. B. So that's why you're more or less against telling someone, oh, go and buy this stock, buy this, because the person doesn't understand where you're coming from. Probably you are willing to leave your money in that stock for years and you will not be bothered. What about the person you're advising to buy the stock? Will the person be able to leave the money there for 1 month without raising dust and all that? So I really understand that. The next question is going to be on the Nigerian stock market specifically, just like a reflection. How has the Nigerian stock exchange evolved over the decades since you started investing in the stock market? I know at the beginning you said the introduction of the fintechs has really revolutionized the stock market. But apart from that, what other things you've seen that has really changed the stock market so far in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of attempts to improve so many things in terms of making companies to comply. As I mentioned before, people don't they no longer get away with the fact that they don't submit results and they just stay there. So they are getting penalties, either they are suspended or they are fined and all this stuff. So that's one good thing that has happened over time. Then again, I think some years ago there were just a lot of abuse of IPOs, listing, but I think there's a bit of more order to the way those things are done now compared to how it was done before. Then in terms of the key thing for me is the processes, of buying. It's been more simplified. You know what I'm trying to say? So even
Yeah.
talking about public offers now, like what they put on the NGS website, the way we bought all these latest offers, very, very seamless. Very, very
Yeah.
seamless. If it's a right offer, the moment you put in your CHN number, it says straight away what you're entitled to. You see what I'm saying? That's a massive
Wow.
development here. So if you're doing,
That's
maybe if you
interesting.
did rights of Zenith, once you put your CHN number, it will say the maximum because your record is picked up immediately. So these are very, very good development and all that. So, but the fintech is for me, to be honest with you, they really helped a lot of the brokers because there you can monitor live as it goes up, as it goes down, who wants to sell, who wants to buy. It's a massive, massive improvement. But the good thing again, that you are totally in control. That's what you're totally in control of what you want to do. So not that you say that I gave that guy email in the morning, now they now bought I. They bought I. But when I'm going to say when they say low for me, all those things are all those things are gone. You will decide
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
You will decide yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to jump in. I can see that offer. I like it. I'll take it. So it's massive, massive, massive improvement. Because again, because I'm a diaspora, the biggest concern of diaspora is trust of people. You see, but the good thing
Yes.
about this, you don't need anybody. You don't need anybody. Once you have the knowledge, you don't need anybody. You see, your phone anywhere you are. There are times I'm in different parts of the world. Once I know what time it opens, on the day I choose to buy or the day I choose to, you don't buy and sell every day. This is
Yeah.
not, and for people that may not be aware, if you think NGX is I'll buy at 10 o'clock, I'll sell at 2 o'clock, you are gambling, you're not doing investment. So that's
Carlo,
not the way it
Carlo.
works. Because somebody contacted me and said he wants to be paying his house rent every month from what he makes, whatever. Somebody contacted me personally. I said that's not the way it works. I think your portfolio can move on a daily basis, but you can't say I want to buy at 10 and sell at 2 every day. That's gambling. So that's not
Yeah.
investment. So
That's crazy.
yeah, yeah. So a lot of
Yeah.
things have changed, and I think we are far, far in a better place compared to where we used to be. Before to open a CSCS account, I remember when I opened my CSCS account, I had to go to Broad Street. I had to do my thumb, that building,
Tom printing. Yeah.
thumb printing physically. I had to fill forms, but there are a lot of fintechs whereby you just submit stuff online. They will generate your CSCS for you, your broker account, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of. I'm not saying it's perfect. If I want to tell you the gaps, it's the registrars. That's where the big challenge is at the moment. But
Yes,
in
I
terms of
totally.
accessing the market, a lot of things have improved. So if I
Yeah.
have any
I
suggestion,
wanted my next question was about the challenges. So now that you've started, you can just
okay.
continue with
The big
It's a,
challenge
it's
is
a
some
big
registrars
issue.
are just terrible. They are just terrible. They are terrible. I'm not
Yeah.
saying all. You see, some will tell you a company says we're going to pay dividends on a particular date. For some people, for 3 months, they've not received the dividends. And it's because some people are just holding on to money unnecessarily. By the time you now start
Yeah.
to threaten them with SEC, start to threaten them on emails, all of a sudden they will not pay the dividends, and it shouldn't be like that. People should not be chasing. Since we have a standard CHN number, you can just give your
Mm-hmm.
bank account once. And once you are an investor, they just do it seamlessly. You don't need to be completing e-dividend forms left and right and
Oh
all this.
wow.
So
Duplication
that
and
is
all
one
that.
thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing that needs to be some registrars are spot on the day they will credit straight away and all the stuff, but some you have to chase and chase and chase. And so a lot of people have concerns, it's intentional, they are trying to hold on to your money unnecessarily. That gap is still there. So we want a case whereby every investor, we have a unique CHN number. Let your bank account be linked to it and let every registrar have access to it. So that once somebody qualifies for any form of dividend, automatically it goes in there. Not filling forms, or we are waiting for your we are not waiting for your mandate and all this stuff. Like the way they did deals rights issue, whatever. Once you log in, it tells you how many you are qualified to get on the right issues, and you pay for it in the system in seconds, and you can always go back and check and see what you bought. So that's a very good system. They can also apply same again to how
Yeah,
dividends
that
are processed and all that. So that's a major gap. Registrars, a lot of work needs to be done.
yeah, that's true. The for the NGS, the right issue that you just mentioned, I never knew that. It's one of the reasons why I refuse participating in right issues, because the last time I participated in right issue, that was Nigeria Police Force right issue.
MPF.
And it was a whole lot. After paying the money, completing the form, when it was time to allot my right issue shares to me, they started asking different questions. Oh, can you give us the receipt? But I sent the receipt initially. You can go back to our email. No, we want the receipt. You need to send it again. We need to see your form that you completed. How did you send? It was a lot. It took me over a year for me to get my shares. And I said, I'm not ready to go through this stress. Never again. Most times, when I see right issues, I really don't look into it. But yeah, now that the NGS has really streamlined it in such a way that you can actually have access to right issues straight away on the website, it makes a lot of sense. Those are some of the things we're asking for. Let them make it very simple so that everyone that comes into the stock market will be able to uh, do something as fast as possible, because most people, they have this erroneous belief that the stock market is a shady business. It's
Exactly.
like
It's
yeah,
something
gambling.
the NGS
Yeah,
also sorry. So it's something the NGS has to work on. It's something because it's one of
yeah,
the issues that I think for some people that we talk to and say, oh, have you considered the NGX? Have you considered investing in the Nigerian stock market? They're like, there's always that negative perception and this place is shady and all the rest.
yeah. It's negative. If you want to really know if there's a negative perception, you go to Twitter. If you're very active in Twitter, just 2 days ago, there was someone that said he has 10 million naira, and people should suggest for him what kind of business he should invest the money into. And look at different responses. So we're saying go to Benue State, buy soya bean and take it to Lagos, you sell, you make money. Different kind of business. So we're saying invest it in forest. I was waiting to see where they will say stock market, the Nigeria stock market. I kept reading until I found someone that said buy Zenith Bank shares. They will still pay dividends by April. And you can see the follow-up comment under that session. Everybody that responded to that tweet were negative responses. Like, you want to lose your money, you want Jimovia to eat your money, or your 10 million will just like, they were just like, I was going through everything. There was nothing positive about the responses to that statement that the person made. And I was like, there's a lot we need to do. Because if the general population, this is their view about the stock market, there's a lot we need to do. Because a lot of things, it's just not right. So there's a lot of education, enlightenment, and all that we need to do, because people don't really see it as a viable form of investment. To them, it's just a way of losing money. Yeah, so
And yeah,
it's
so
terrible.
just sorry to comment. So that again boils down to the fact that who you are talking to. How can somebody say I have 10 million, you put it out in public space, whatever, whatever. You go to hear all sorts because everybody has different strategies. Some people are not time rich. You see, there are some things you want to do that needs a lot of time. There are some things that don't need a lot of time. So you have to really balance all these things. For me, as I said earlier to you, I live in the West. I don't even do LSE. I don't do NYSE. And I've told myself NGX is a unique animal, and I love that animal. I love the animal. I love the animal so much because in a month at times some stocks can even do 200% in a month.
Yeah,
Some stocks will do
Yeah,
1,000% in a year, as long as you know what you're doing. And you
yeah,
see what I'm saying?
yeah,
And the beauty again of despite the fact that they have such good returns, you can liquidate it quickly. Again, you have to be smart. If you go and buy the wrong stock that you want to sell 6 months, you are still not able to sell. Again, that's where the experience comes in. You know those stocks that you want to sell now. If you put it up now, as long as you are flexible, in seconds it's gone. Do it on Monday,
yeah,
by Thursday it becomes cash. You can divert it to, you know what I'm saying? So people, those that want to learn will learn. Those that don't want to learn, no matter what you say, as I said before, a dog that will get lost will never listen to the hunter's whistle. So it's as simple as that. So people will say, oh, my father had this 1980, that stock was this 2000, and it's not what you just abandon and come and check after 15 years. No,
Yes,
that's not the way it
Okay.
works.
this is very important lesson, right? Because we see this kind of advice in some of these foreign books. Oh, buy these stocks, maybe buy 10 stocks, abandon them for 10 years, come back 10 years. No, that's not the NGX. Okay, buy 10 stocks,
Hmm.
but keep your eyes on those 10 stocks. Keep your eyes because
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Because
so
it's a sort of cycles. You guys know that there are some stocks that they were far more expensive 10, 15 years ago than they are today.
yeah,
Even some
Yeah.
banks are more
Yeah.
than what they are today and
Banks,
all that.
Nigeria
So
breweries,
you have
those,
to
yeah,
you
there's
have
so
to
many
understand
companies.
there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. So it's up to people what they want to do and all that. So there's a lot. You can't just abandon it and say I will come back. No, no, no. You have to be checking it. Not just checking the NGX. You have to be in touch with what is going on. There are a lot of
Oh,
financial publications that comes out, even newspapers. There are a lot of things. There are a lot of things. If you watch now, one of the fugas now, it's something that's in the last few days. People are watching. Smart guys are watching closely. How will this end? Some people don't know what is going on, and they've got the stock of that bank.
yeah,
They don't know what
yeah.
is going on. I'm sure you guys. I don't want to say. You guys know what I'm saying. One of the
We
fugas.
I
know,
know.
we
I
Something is
understand what you're saying.
know.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the last few days. Something is come
Yeah.
up. So they're already saying
Yeah.
this and that. Get this person out.
Yeah.
That get that person out. No, the person is saying that because he wants to be controlled. So there's so many things like you can't just leave. You can't just leave it. You can't leave it.
Yeah.
You can't. You
Yeah.
cannot. So people have to get that clear. So if you are talking to the right people, you get the right guidance. Let me put it that way.
I think this is a quote from you too that you posted on the lounge, which is something that investors also have to learn, right? So use time to buy money, use money to buy time, and this buy low, sell high thing, it works in that way. So investors need to
Exactly.
understand these little nuances. Buy. I don't know if we've mentioned if there are any unique opportunities that the Nigerian stock market has created. I think we've touched on that.
Yeah. So I think the next question you should be asking Aye is the future.
Yeah.
What
So
trends?
what trends
Yeah.
do you see shaping the NGX? Are there any specific industries or sectors you're excited about? How do you see the NGX in the future? What trends do you see shaping it? What sectors are you excited
Mm,
about? Yeah.
so many things, to be honest with you. We can't exhaust it, but I will say a few things. There will, as I said before, there will always be opportunities anywhere. There will always be opportunities. You just have to know what you're doing, position yourself. If you look at the oil and gas now is evolving, and because of this PIB implementation, there are now a lot of foreign people are selling their assets to local companies. We have to know which one to take on. You have to know which one to take on. You see, some of us have made so much money on Eternal, we have exited, but some are joining again. I'm not saying it's bad, but you have to understand why should I buy this at this particular price, or should I just wait for Dangote refinery to list and all that. So there's something coming up in the oil and gas due to the free market economy of the current administration. So there are some prospects there, but it all depends on what you want to get and when you get it. You see, when you
Mm-hmm.
get that's very important. Then the other thing again, insurance again is not a strong sector in Nigeria, as I've said so many times
Yeah.
before, because people believe insurance is not my portion. Or I was reading somebody on TV that said
Yeah,
when
yeah.
they talk about insurance, they're not my portion, whatever, whatever. But the fact is that if you live in the West where I live, people insure cats, people insure dogs, people you can't do any crap insurance on your car. You have to insure houses because over 90% of houses are mortgaged. No bank is going to give you a mortgage if it's not insured. So the insurance is big money in the West, but in our country,
Third
it's
party
just coming up.
insurance for
So
car.
now with the new with the new insurance bill, I think as I've mentioned in one of the programs, basically they will be forced to recapitalize enough of the NICOM insurance companies back. So I can see this sort of uptick in the last few days and all that. So insurance, there are prospects there if you know what you're doing. And I think I've shared my thoughts. For me, one of my key investing principles generally 20 kobo becomes 40 kobo, 40 naira becomes 80 naira is the same thing. It's about
Yeah.
returns. So I tend to prefer the lower scale if it's the right. I'm not saying the lower scale are always the best. I'm just saying that if I've got two similar stocks, lower scale, higher scale, I will go for the lower scale multiplication because it's quite easier for two to become four than for 500 to become 1,000. That's what I've seen by virtue of experience. Then
Okay.
the banks have been a bit stagnant because of all this recapitalization now. The first access is announced. We oversubscribed now. I think We've had another company, FCMB, talk about they've achieved and all that. So by the time all this stuff is over, then the banks, they have always been very resilient. They have always been resilient. Don't forget, we're a country of over 200 million people. The banks would always they will do well. But again, lesson 101, entry price. Entry price. You have to know. Your
Yeah.
entry price is very, very key. You see, that's very,
Yeah.
very important. You see, some people are now, somebody was asking recently, oh, I want to buy Zenith. I said, when did you start following the NGX? Basically couldn't answer. But this same Zenith you are trying to buy at 45 now, a few weeks ago was 36.50 to the public. Why didn't you buy it then?
Mm,
So it means that
yeah.
possibly the person is new, or they've not even just say, okay, somebody said Zenith is good or
Zenith
something
Bank.
and all
Yeah.
that. So a lot of things comes into play. So the banking sector is also quite good. Again, entry price is very important and how long you want to stay there. Then the other one, I think there are other financial services also that are good. So there are so many sectors. Manufacturing is struggling, as you guys know, at the moment. All those that have got FX exposure is affecting them. It's affecting them. So again, typically good stocks like Dangote Sugar, they are struggling because of FX challenges. Those have got FX exposure. So you have to also consider that then oil and gas, banks, insurance, IT. We don't have so many big players listed in IT, but there are a few of them that are there. You have to just be sure, is it a good buy for me at their current prices? You see, for a long
Yeah.
time, I was holding Champs. I bought it for 20 kobo. Champs is over 2 naira now. Though I've sold it so many times. I've sold it over and over again. But this same Champs
Yeah.
was 20 kobo before. For a long time, it was sitting at 20 kobo.
Yeah.
But now it's 2 naira something, 220 or 219, where it's closed and all that. So there's not so many, all the big players in IT, they are not really listed. Maybe hopefully if they come on board, maybe there'll be more opportunities in that space. So those are the key sectors for me. But the most important thing is that you have to be clear on your own strategy. Why am I buying it? How long am I leaving my money in there? Am I buying it for growth? Am I buying it for dividend? And all those things matter. Even the conglomerates also, they are very important. You see, like all the Transcorp stuff like that. I'm not recommending any stock, but the fact remains that there's a potential in those sectors also as the business expands and get bigger. But again, Transcorp has not been very good in terms of dividends. It has been very poor historically.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
Yeah.
so you have to know if I'm buying it, why am I buying Transcorp and all that. And again, talking about the NGS as a unique animal, look at Transcorp
Hotels.
PLC as it's about maybe 51 or something. But look at Transpower, subsidiary is about 300 and something or thereabout. Look at Transco Hotel, about 116. Then somebody says to you, how can the main body be 51?
Very low.
And
Yeah.
subsidiaries are like times 6 times 7 of the price. So again, it's a
Mm.
unique animal. You have to understand why we have all those things. Because no, if you tell anybody in the West that the main organization is trading at 51, but subsidiaries are trading at 100 and something, 300 and something,
Children or
what's going
something.
on? So you have to understand all these parameters and all that. So I think the conglomerate also have a future because I see a liberal economy coming. Then all those investments in infrastructure with time they will pay off for those that are investing in those. So it all depends. But again, I cannot say it enough. Investment is bespoke. You can never generalize. You can never generalize. You have to have a one-to-one in terms of what you want to achieve, what is good enough for you, and that is the best way to approach it. So virtually all the sectors have opportunities. Some have moved so quickly, and some people are stuck. They can't even sell it because they don't understand why it's moving. So that's it. I can give examples. Julie Pharmacy, where are they today? Those that are joking with Julie
I've
Pharmacy.
been waiting for you to mention that all this
Exactly.
since we
Look at,
started.
look at Julie Pharmacy. It was just going, I say, so I can't decide for anybody, but you have to know what you're doing. Look at Unicell. Just moved all, you know what I'm
The
saying?
way
So how
to
many people are
20
able to sell
naira.
it at the higher prices?
Yeah.
So there's a lot. There's a lot. So there's a lot to say, but again, it's not something that is general, it's bespoke. You have to understand and you really need to sort of hang on the shoulders of giants to help you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Are you okay? Your closing thoughts and just the last question.
Okay, so if you could go back in time, is there any piece of advice you give your younger self about investing?
Mm, I think basically I didn't rush anything. So to be honest with you, all I can say well basically now is that I would do better based on the experience I've acquired over time. But as a starter, I didn't start wrongly. Let me put it that way. But
Okay.
what I've learned over time will shape and form my decisions going forward. And that's where I'll put it. So now I will just have to balance my risk in terms of should I just leave this particular, especially if it's a low end stock in cost. If it's a low end stock in cost, and I will just say to myself, I'll leave it for as long as possible. Even no matter how good it is, I wouldn't take, for example, I'm almost, I think, over 300% on tantalizer. So I was still, I'm now having chatted today. I was chatting with somebody today, and I was saying, oh, do you plan to exit? When would you exit and all that? So I have to make those decisions and all that. So should I leave certain things? Should I not leave them? Is it actually worth the price? A lot of things like that. So what I've learned over time will shape my decisions going forward. But in terms of starting, I did not really rush into anything. Personally, I didn't. So
Okay. All right. Thank you. Just a quick one because you are a resource, whether you like it or not. People will learn from
Yeah.
you. How can listeners, people that will listen to this interview, if they want to stay connected with you, just to get more insight from you, how can they get connected?
yeah, I'm very accessible. As you know, I'm very accessible. If you, my full name is Idowu Anthony-Ajileye. Put the dash in between Anthony and Ajileye. If you go on LinkedIn, my name is not very common. If you put on LinkedIn,
Hmm.
I'm verified on LinkedIn. Easily you'll find me. If you go on Twitter, or X is what it's called now, I'm
Yeah.
verified on X. Put my name, you will find me easily. In terms of Facebook, I've got a personal Facebook page, but I don't just accept anybody on my personal, no, to my personal account. That one is you have to request to join. But in terms of my Facebook page, anthony-agile.com, I've got a page that is open. You can easily follow me there or message me. The team will respond one way or the other. I'm on Instagram again. I'm verified on Instagram. I'm using my Nigerian consultancy for that. If you check at Tonydol Consultants Limited, you will find me easily. So my name is, just type my name in easily. You will find me. Then for email also, dobmatch8 at gmail.com. It's basically date of birth March 8th. You just use the letters, then 8 is the only number at gmail.com. You will find me easily. So I'm accessible. Then my website, I've got a personal website, www.anthony with H dash Ajileye, AJILEYE.com. Once you get on that home page, you can access all my links and all that. So there's so many ways I can be contacted. Yeah, very easy to get across to me.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Um, Aye, you want to call to action and we can call it a day?
Yeah, so I think the biggest takeaway from today's session is that investing is bespoke. It's something that I think our listeners should pay close attention to. I mean, because on forums, on chat rooms, we always see this question of what should I invest in, what should I buy, what should I invest in, what should I buy, and like you said, learning is something that I mean everybody has to do, but you have to figure it out for yourself. You have to decide what you want to do, what you want to achieve, what you want to accomplish, right? So at the end of the day, right, the best thing for you as an investor is ask the right questions, right? Reach out to the right people, get the right kind of direction and guidance. Don't rush. I think this is another very important one, like you said. You didn't rush into this, so don't rush, right? There's always opportunity, like you said. So that fear of missing out thing, just try as much as possible to kill it. I think emotional dexterity is always something that works out well for investors, and I think it's something we always see all the time because I mean between us even you can say, oh, you're very smart, you're very intelligent, yes, you can do the math, you can look at the stocks, you can look at the balance sheet, but at the end of the day, do you have the patience to even cool yourself down and say, I'm going to pick this stock, I'm going to do my homework, I'm going to do my research? So yeah, what I will advise for our investors is, I mean, reach out to the room, right? Reach out to him, whatever you need to sacrifice in order for you to get that experience, get that niche knowledge, sacrifice it, be willing to spend money to get time, be willing to spend time to get money, understand where the low is, understand where the high is, buy low, sell high. It's not just talks of buy low and sell high. Like you're buying experience low, you're selling high. Be willing to commit to that. Yes, I would definitely recommend all of that. Right.
I want to thank you so much, Mr. Idowu, for taking
Mm.
that time to share your experience with our listeners. And I hope when next we call on you, you'll be able to answer too. Thank you
I'll,
so
do- I'll
much,
do,
sir.
I'll do, I'll do, I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Thank
Yeah.
you
So
so
just
much,
the
sir. We
final word for
appreciate
me
it.
is, it's thanks for the opportunity, inviting me to share with your audience. And something which I typically say to people is, you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what you don't know. So always don't think there's one way to learning, just as you said, or one way to achieving goals and all this stuff. So if you are very serious about investment, you have to depend on people that knows what they are doing to guide you.
Hmm.
Except you feel, I want to rough it for as long as possible. And as I've always said, you don't have to invest when you're learning. You don't have to. So if you feel I don't know yet, then you can be learning without doing any investment and all that. But if you want to fast
Okay.
track the process, you can leverage on others. It's not general training. No, I don't. I'm not an apostle of that. When it comes to investing, no, not. It's not when you gather 50 people and you're telling all of them the same thing when they have different circumstances and all that. So it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. So there are a lot of information you can get for free on forums and all that. But if you're investing good money, you cannot take chances. If that was the
Yeah.
case, fund managers would be the poorest people in the on earth. But you go and check
Yeah.
the money fund managers get from billionaires, and that's just the way it is. So, so thank you for the opportunity. I've given my details. I can be contacted to whoever that needs the support. Yeah, I would typically do initial coaching. Some would say after coaching, give me 1 year support. For some people, I give them lifetime support until they find their feet and all that. But the good thing, as
Oh,
I've
that's
said before, is
interesting.
that you can you can do this without anybody. You don't need to send anybody around. Let me go take a bus from Broad Street to Marina and go and check this. Everything on your phone, you can do it yourself. And people that are even thinking of retiring, if you retire, whatever you think you are retiring from, you can do this for life. For life. For
Yes.
life. So and that's just the
Yes.
beauty of it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Have a nice one, sir.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to another episode of the favorite podcast that brings insight to the Nigerian stock market. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. To get more episodes like this, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, as well as on our website. All this information is available in the show note below this episode. Until we bring you another episode your way next week. Bye for now. TNI Podcast is executive produced by Mudi. This episode was edited by Rona at Rock Quarry Village Studio.